The research vessel Celestial Dawn drifted helplessly in the cold vacuum between star systems, its beautiful crystalline hull now cracked and scarred like broken glass. Precious atmosphere vented into space through dozens of jagged tears, creating ghostly trails of frozen air that sparkled in the distant starlight. Captain Nala of the Villani Republic gripped her command throne with all four hands as another massive explosion shook the ship, sending cascades of bright sparks from overloaded control panels throughout the bridge. The elegant research vessel had been designed for peaceful exploration, not warfare. Its translucent walls and flowing organic curves were meant to inspire wonder and scientific curiosity. Now those same beautiful features made it look fragile and helpless against the dark predators that surrounded it. Engineering reports total engine failure, Captain, announced her second-in-command, First Officer Vekare, his voice tight with barely controlled panic. His normally calm demeanor had cracked under the stress of watching half their crew die in the initial attack. The Ravagers destroyed our primary power core with their first salvo. We have maybe 6 hours of life support remaining before the backup systems fail completely. Nala stared at the tactical hologram floating above her command station, watching the 3 massive Ravager warships circle her vessel like ancient predators stalking wounded prey. Each enemy ship was easily 5 times the size of the Celestial Dawn, their hulls bristling with weapon arrays that could vaporize entire cities. The nomadic Ravager species had appeared without warning just 3 hours ago, dropping out of hyperspace like demons emerging from the void. Their demands had been simple and brutal. Surrender all research data or watch every crew member die slowly in the vacuum of space. The Ravagers were known throughout the galaxy as technological scavengers who survived by stealing the innovations of other civilizations. They had no homeworld, no permanent bases, just an endless fleet of warships that roamed from system to system like a plague. How many crew members do we have left? Nala asked quietly, dreading the answer she knew was coming. 47 survivors out of our original crew of 90, came the grim response from her medical officer. The Ravagers killed everyone who tried to resist during their boarding attempt. Dr. Yelna and her entire research team were executed when they refused to give up their lab access codes. The bridge fell silent except for the ominous sound of failing life support systems. Air recyclers wheezed and stuttered as they struggled to process the remaining atmosphere. Emergency lighting cast eerie shadows across the faces of the surviving crew members, each one showing the hollow expression of beings who had watched friends and colleagues die. Through the main view screen, Nala could see the Ravager vessels positioning themselves for another attack. Their dark hulls absorbed light like black holes, making them appear as voids cut out of the star field. Occasionally, weapon ports would glow with malevolent energy as they charged their plasma cannons, a constant reminder of the death that waited just moments away. The Celestial Dawn had been conducting a routine survey mission in this remote region of space, cataloging new star systems and searching for signs of undiscovered civilizations. Their computer banks contained detailed maps of over 30 unexplored systems, including the locations of several worlds that showed signs of developing intelligent life. In the wrong hands, that information could doom entire species to slavery or extinction. Captain, we're receiving another transmission from the Ravager commander, the communications officer reported, her voice trembling with fear and exhaustion. Put it through, Nala ordered, steeling herself for another dose of alien cruelty. The voice that filled the bridge was like metal scraping against stone, harsh and mechanical even through the universal translator. Villani vessel, this is War Master Krelven of the 3rd Ravager Fleet. You have wasted enough of my time with your pathetic resistance. You now have 1 hour to transfer all research data to our ships. Refuse and we will begin spacing your crew members one by one until you comply. The transmission cut off, leaving the bridge in stunned silence. Nala closed her 4 eyes and felt the weight of impossible choices pressing down on her shoulders. The research data they carried represented years of careful exploration and scientific discovery. More importantly, it included stellar cartography information for dozens of inhabited systems that had never been contacted by galactic civilization. If the Ravagers obtained that data, they could launch surprise attacks against primitive worlds that had no defenses against advanced technology. Entire civilizations could be enslaved or wiped out before they even knew what was happening. But if she refused to surrender the data, every remaining crew member aboard the Celestial Dawn would die horribly. These were not just fellow officers and scientists, but friends she had worked with for years. People who had families waiting for them back home, dreams they would never fulfill, discoveries they would never make. Captain, her tactical officer spoke up hesitantly. The Ravagers are moving into final attack position. If we're going to do something, it has to be now. Nala looked around at the faces of her crew, seeing fear mixed with determination. They all knew the odds were hopeless, but they also understood what was at stake. Sometimes the only choice was between different kinds of failure. "Send a distress signal," she ordered, her voice carrying new strength despite their desperate situation. "Broadcast on all emergency frequencies. Maximum power transmission across all subspace channels. Request immediate assistance from anyone who receives the message." The communications officer's hands flew across her console, configuring the ship's transmitters for the most powerful signal they could generate. "Signal transmitting now, Captain. Broadcasting our position and situation to every civilized system within 50 light-years." As the distress call raced across the galaxy at faster-than-light speeds, none of the Villani crew could have imagined what they had just set in motion. Their desperate plea for help would soon reach monitoring stations belonging to a species they had never encountered, beings from a world so dangerous that most of the galaxy considered it a death trap. The message carried their coordinates and a simple request for rescue. But what was coming to answer their call would be far more than they had ever dared to hope for. Admiral Beth Cooper stood on the command bridge of the massive dreadnought Terran Vengeance, her weathered hands gripping the tactical rail as she studied the three-dimensional hologram floating before her. The display showed the desperate situation 50,000 kilometers away, a single Villani research vessel surrounded by 3 hulking Ravager warships like a wounded bird being circled by vultures. Cooper's face told the story of 3 decades spent fighting in the void between stars. A jagged scar ran from her left temple to her jaw, a souvenir from the Battle of Proxima Station where she had saved an entire colony from pirate raiders. Her gray eyes held the cold calculation of someone who had seen too many good people die because help arrived too late. The bridge around her hummed with controlled activity as her crew prepared for what was about to become the largest fleet engagement in this sector of space. Banks of holographic displays showed tactical data, ship positions, and weapon status reports streaming in from across the entire battle group. "What do we know about the current situation?" she asked her intelligence officer, her voice carrying the authority that came from commanding 15,000 of humanity's finest warriors. Commander Tom Baker, a thin man whose cybernetic eye glowed softly as it processed incoming data, pulled up detailed sensor scans on his workstation. The distress signal originated from a Villani research vessel designated Celestial Dawn Admiral. "She's a civilian exploration ship with minimal defensive capabilities, basically a floating laboratory. The attacking force consists of 3 Ravager heavy cruisers, each one carrying enough firepower to crack a small moon." Cooper nodded grimly as she studied the enemy vessel profiles. The Ravagers had been a persistent thorn in the side of human shipping lanes for the past 5 years, appearing without warning to attack isolated settlements and cargo convoys. Their hit-and-run tactics had made them difficult to corner, but this time they had made a crucial mistake. They had lingered too long at one location. "Those Ravager ships are nasty pieces of work," Baker continued, highlighting key features on the tactical display. "Quantum plasma cannons, adaptive shielding, and enough armor plating to shrug off anything smaller than a heavy cruiser's main guns. They're known throughout the galaxy for their brutal tactics and complete disregard for civilian casualties." Cooper's jaw tightened as she read the casualty estimates. The Villani had already lost nearly half their crew, and the survivors were running out of time. In her 30 years of military service, she had learned that every minute of delay meant more innocent people would die. "Status report on our forces," she requested, turning to her fleet coordination officer. Lieutenant Colonel Mike Davis, a burly ex-Marine whose arms bore the ritual tattoos of the Outer Colony Defense Corps, brought up the complete fleet roster on the main tactical screen. "We have 8 heavy cruisers, 12 destroyers, 4 assault carriers with full fighter complements and 2 support vessels. Total personnel, approximately 15,000 naval officers and Marines. We also have 2 companies of zero-G assault troops aboard the carriers, ready for boarding operations if needed." The numbers represented one of humanity's most powerful deep space battle groups, originally assembled to track down and destroy a suspected Ravager base in the Outer Rim territories. When the alien distress call had been intercepted by their monitoring stations, Cooper had made the decision to divert her entire fleet without hesitation. "Admiral, incoming transmission from the Ravager vessels," announced Communications Officer Amy Johnson from her station near the main view screen. Cooper straightened her uniform jacket and nodded. "Put it through. Let's see what these pirates have to say." The voice that emerged from the bridge speakers carried the typical arrogance of predators who had grown fat and lazy from terrorizing defenseless prey. "Unknown fleet, this is War Master Krelvan of the Ravager Brotherhood. You are interfering in our legitimate salvage operation. Withdraw immediately or face the consequences of opposing the most feared raiders in known space. Cooper smiled coldly, the expression transforming her scarred features into something that would have made a shark nervous. War Master, this is Admiral Beth Cooper of the Human Colonial Defense Force. You are hereby ordered to cease your attack on the civilian vessel and surrender immediately. This is your only warning. The response came as harsh alien laughter that sounded like metal grinding against stone. Humans? We have no record of your pathetic species in our extensive databases. You dare threaten the Ravager Brotherhood with your primitive vessels? We have destroyed 1,000 civilizations more technologically advanced than yours. Cooper looked around her bridge at the faces of men and women who had grown up on a world where Category 5 hurricanes, Magnitude 9 earthquakes and volcanic eruptions were considered minor weather disturbances. These were the descendants of people who had colonized planets that would kill most alien species within hours. Then you haven't been paying attention to recent galactic affairs, Cooper replied, her voice carrying the quiet confidence of someone who had never lost a major engagement. You have exactly 60 seconds to begin your withdrawal from this system, or we will demonstrate why the galaxy has started calling us Deathworlders. She activated the fleet command channel, her orders transmitting simultaneously to every ship in the battle group. All ships, this is Admiral Cooper. We have 47 civilian lives under direct threat from Ravager pirates. Rules of engagement are weapons-free. I want these butchers to understand what happens when they threaten innocent people in human-protected space. The response from her fleet commanders was immediate and professional. Captain Smith of the destroyer Sheffield reported all weapon systems armed and targeting solutions locked. Captain Wilson of the assault carrier Normandy confirmed that all 6 fighter squadrons were fueled, armed, and ready for immediate launch. Humans, Krelden's voice returned over the communication channel, now tinged with amusement rather than anger. You pilot primitive chemical rockets while we command vessels powered by quantum cores. Your crude kinetic projectiles cannot hope to match our plasma cannons capable of melting asteroids. You have just sealed your own destruction. Cooper turned to her tactical officer, Commander Brown, whose fingers were already dancing across his weapons control console. Commander, show the Ravagers what human ingenuity can accomplish when we put our minds to ending a problem permanently. The human fleet began moving into attack formation with precision that spoke of countless hours of training and real combat experience against enemies who had underestimated Earth's children. Throughout the battle group, fighter craft began launching from the assault carriers like angry hornets pouring from a disturbed hive. The battle that would reshape galactic understanding of human military capabilities was about to begin. The human fleet emerged from hyperspace like a force of nature unleashed upon the unsuspecting Ravager pirates, reality itself seeming to tear apart as massive warships materialized from faster-than-light travel. Captain Nala pressed her face against the cracked observation window of her dying research vessel, watching in absolute amazement as dozens of human warships appeared in perfect formation around her position like guardian angels materializing from the void. The sight was beyond anything in Villani military doctrine or scientific understanding. Ship after ship dropped out of hyperspace with mathematical precision, their positions calculated to provide maximum tactical advantage while protecting the damaged research vessel. Each human warship moved with purpose and coordination that spoke of years of training and real combat experience. By the ancient stars, whispered her science officer, his 4 eyes wide with disbelief as he stared at his sensor readings. I count 26 vessels, including what appear to be heavy battle cruisers and assault carriers. Captain, this is not a rescue mission, this is an entire invasion fleet. The largest human ship dominated the tactical display like a floating city of war. The massive dreadnought stretched nearly 2 kilometers from bow to stern, its dark hull bristling with weapon arrays that dwarfed anything in their xenobiology databases. The vessel positioned itself directly between the Villani research ship and the 3 Ravager warships with movements that seemed almost casual despite the enormous mass involved. Look at the design, her tactical officer breathed, studying the human vessels through their damaged sensors. Those aren't exploration ships or merchant vessels. Every single one of those ships was built specifically for warfare. The humans didn't just respond to our distress call, they sent a battle fleet. Through her communication system, Admiral Cooper's voice came across as calm and professional, carrying the confidence of someone who had faced impossible odds before and emerged victorious. Captain Nala, this is Admiral Cooper of the Human Colonial Defense Force. We're going to get you and your crew out of this situation. Please keep your people away from the external sections of your ship during the engagement. The casual way the human admiral spoke about the coming battle sent chills through Nala's spine. There was no doubt in the woman's voice, no hesitation or concern about facing 3 heavily armed Ravager cruisers. She spoke as if the outcome was already decided. War Master Krelthan's voice cut across the communication channel with the contempt and arrogance typical of predators who had never faced serious opposition. Humans, your primitive fleet will be destroyed within minutes of engagement. The Ravager Brotherhood has conquered civilizations far more technologically advanced than your pathetic species. War Master, Admiral Cooper replied with deadly calm, you're about to discover why the rest of the galaxy has started calling us Deathworlders. Nala watched in fascination as the human fleet began spreading into multiple attack groups, creating overlapping fields of fire while simultaneously denying the Ravagers any concentrated targets. Instead of charging directly at the enemy like most species would in their anger, the humans moved with coordination that defied belief. The tactical patterns were unlike anything she had studied in her years of military academy training. Human ships moved in complex formations that seemed almost like a dance, each vessel supporting the others while maintaining optimal positioning for both offense and defense. Their communication networks allowed instant coordination across the entire battle group. All fighters, commence attack run, Admiral Cooper ordered, her voice carrying across all frequencies. Space around the battle zone suddenly filled with hundreds of small, fast human fighter craft streaming from the assault carriers like a swarm of metallic insects. The tiny vessels moved with impossible agility, weaving between enemy positions while closing rapidly on their targets. Their flight pattern seemed almost organic, constantly shifting and adapting to changing battlefield conditions. War Master Krelthan's harsh laughter echoed through the communication channel. Primitive chemical rockets against quantum plasma cannons? This will be the shortest battle in Ravager military history. Your fighters will be vaporized before they come within weapons range. His laughter died abruptly as the first wave of human fighters reached optimal firing distance and launched their weapons. Instead of the crude kinetic projectiles he had expected, each fighter craft unleashed sophisticated guided missiles equipped with advanced artificial intelligence targeting systems and armor-penetrating warheads designed specifically for anti-ship warfare. The Ravager cruiser Blood Harvest shuddered violently as dozens of missiles impacted its shields simultaneously. The alien vessel's defensive systems, designed to handle massive energy weapons from other capital ships, were completely overwhelmed by the coordinated assault of hundreds of small, precise strikes. Impossible, Krelthan snarled over the open channel, his arrogance rapidly transforming into confusion and concern. Their weapons should not be able to penetrate our quantum shielding. Captain Nala watched in growing amazement as the human fighters executed tactical maneuvers that violated everything she knew about space combat physics. They used the gravitational fields of nearby asteroids to slingshot around enemy plasma bursts, attacked from multiple vectors simultaneously, and coordinated their strikes with mathematical precision that could only come from networked artificial intelligence systems. "Captain, look at their larger warships," her tactical officer called out, pointing toward the main battle display. The human cruisers and destroyers were advancing on Ravager positions, but not in the standard formation that most species used for capital ship engagement. Instead, they moved in a complex three-dimensional pattern that constantly shifted their positions relative to each other and the enemy vessels. The human dreadnought began charging its primary weapon systems, energy readings that made Nala's instruments scream warnings about dangerous radiation levels. Whatever the humans were preparing to unleash, it was far beyond anything her people had ever encountered in their peaceful exploration of the galaxy. War Master Krelthan's voice returned to the communication channel, now carrying notes of panic rather than the confident arrogance he had displayed moments earlier. "What kind of weapons are you using? Our intelligence reports said humans possessed only primitive chemical propulsion and kinetic projectiles." Admiral Cooper's response was cold and final. "Your intelligence reports were wrong, War Master. You're about to learn that humans don't just build better weapons, we think differently about warfare itself." The battle that would change galactic understanding of human capabilities was reaching its decisive moment. War Master Krelthan stared at his tactical display in absolute horror as his supposedly invincible Ravager fleet crumbled under the relentless human assault like paper ships caught in a hurricane. The quantum plasma cannons that had terrorized dozens of civilizations and reduced entire planetary defense forces to glowing debris proved completely useless against enemies who refused to fight according to any known patterns of galactic warfare. His command bridge, once a symbol of unstoppable military might, now resembled a scene from the deepest levels of hell. Sparks cascaded from overloaded control panels while emergency alarms shrieked warnings about critical system failures throughout his flagship. The acrid smell of burning electronics and coolant leaks filled the recycled air as his crew struggled desperately to maintain basic ship functions. War Master, the Void Stalker has been completely destroyed, his tactical officer reported with trembling claws, his voice cracking under the stress of watching their sister ship disintegrate in a chain of brilliant explosions. The Blood Harvest has lost main engines and primary weapon systems. We are currently operating at 30% combat effectiveness and falling rapidly. Through the main view screen of his command vessel, Krell then could see hundreds of human fighter craft swarming around his remaining ships like metallic predators that had detected the scent of blood in the water. The tiny vessels moved with impossible agility and coordination, weaving between his ship's defensive fire while systematically dismantling every weapon array and shield generator they could reach. Their small size and incredible maneuverability made them nearly impossible to target with weapons designed for ship-to-ship combat between massive vessels. Every time his gunners managed to lock onto one of the human fighters, 3 more would appear from different angles to destroy the tracking systems before they could fire. How are they coordinating so many individual vessels? Krell then demanded, watching his tactical display show the movements of what appeared to be nearly 1,000 separate human craft all moving in perfect harmony. No species in known space can maintain formation discipline with that many small units. His science officer worked frantically at his console, trying to analyze the flood of sensor data streaming in from the battle zone. War Master, their fighter craft appear to be using some form of networked artificial intelligence system. Each individual vessel shares tactical data, targeting information, and battle damage assessments instantaneously with all other units in their formation. The implications of that revelation sent a chill through Krellthen's spine. You mean we are not fighting hundreds of separate pilots? No, War Master. It is like fighting a single organism that happens to have hundreds of separate parts, each one capable of independent action while remaining connected to the whole. Their coordination is beyond anything we have encountered in our centuries of warfare. Admiral Cooper's voice suddenly cut through the chaos on his bridge, transmitted on all frequencies with the calm authority of someone who had never doubted the outcome of this engagement. War Master Krellthen, your remaining fleet is now completely surrounded and outgunned. I am offering you one final opportunity to surrender. Shut down all weapon systems immediately and prepare your vessels to be boarded. Krellthen's pride flared despite his desperate tactical situation. The Ravager Brotherhood had built their reputation on never backing down from any fight, no matter how dangerous the opposition appeared. The Ravager Brotherhood does not surrender to primitive species, human. We will fight to the last warrior rather than submit to your demands. Your choice, War Master, Admiral Cooper replied with deadly calm. All ships resume engagement. No quarter asked, none given. The human cruisers moved into closer range with movements that seemed almost casual despite the incredible firepower they were bringing to bear. Their railgun batteries began firing in carefully timed sequences, each salvo calculated to hit different sections of the Ravager vessels to systematically destroy weapons arrays, shield generators and propulsion systems. Captain Nala watched the unfolding battle from her damaged research vessel, completely amazed by the clinical precision of the human attack. There was no wasted motion, no unnecessary destruction or random violence. Every weapon discharge served a specific tactical purpose in the systematic dismantling of the Ravager fleet. Captain, I am monitoring human fleet communications, her communications officer reported, her voice filled with scientific fascination despite their life-threatening situation. Their coordination capabilities are beyond anything in our databases. They are sharing targeting data, tactical assessments and real-time battle damage reports across all vessels simultaneously. Her science officer looked up from his sensor analysis with an expression of awe mixed with fear. Captain, their communication systems appear to use quantum entanglement technology for instantaneous data transmission. No lag time, no signal degradation, no possibility of interception or jamming. Every ship in their fleet has access to the same tactical information at exactly the same moment. The revelation explained why the human fleet moved as a single coordinated unit despite being spread across thousands of cubic kilometers of space. Each vessel, from the massive dreadnought down to the smallest fighter craft, was essentially part of a single networked intelligence that could process battlefield information and adapt tactics faster than any traditional command structure. Look at their targeting patterns, her tactical officer called out, highlighting specific sections on their sensor display. They are not trying to completely destroy the Ravager ships. They are systematically disabling specific components, weapons, shields, engines, life support. They want to capture the vessels intact. Nala realized with growing understanding that the humans were not simply defeating the Ravager fleet, they were conducting a perfectly orchestrated military operation designed to eliminate the threat while preserving intelligence assets for future analysis. Every aspect of their attack had been planned and calculated to achieve maximum effectiveness with minimal waste. War Master Krelthan's voice came across the communication channels one final time, now carrying notes of desperate panic rather than the arrogant confidence he had displayed at the beginning of the engagement. "What kind of species are you? Our intelligence reports indicated that humans possessed only primitive chemical propulsion and simple kinetic weapons." Admiral Cooper's response was cold and final, carrying the weight of absolute certainty. "Your intelligence reports were catastrophically wrong, War Master. You are discovering that humans do not just build superior weapons, we think about warfare itself in ways that other species cannot comprehend." The systematic destruction of the Ravager fleet continued with mathematical precision as the human battle group demonstrated exactly why the galaxy was beginning to call them Deathworlders. The aftermath of battle left the star system completely transformed from a site of terror and impending death into a bustling hub of rescue and recovery operations. Admiral Beth Cooper stood on the observation deck of her massive dreadnought, watching dozens of human medical shuttles and repair vessels swarming around the damaged Villani research station like helpful insects tending to a wounded giant. The scene outside the reinforced viewing ports was one of organized chaos as human engineering teams worked alongside Villani survivors to stabilize the crystalline research vessel. Bright welding torches created tiny stars against the darkness of space as hull breaches were sealed and damaged systems were restored to working order. The elegant alien ship, with its flowing organic curves and translucent sections, looked like a piece of art compared to the brutal efficiency of human military vessels. Final casualty reports. Admiral, Commander Tom Baker approached with a data tablet, his expression showing the satisfaction of a mission completed successfully. "We lost 2 fighter pilots during the engagement and suffered minor structural damage to 3 cruisers. Nothing that can't be repaired within 48 hours. The Ravager fleet has been completely eliminated, 2 vessels destroyed outright, 1 captured intact for intelligence analysis." Cooper nodded, studying the tactical summary on the tablet's display. The numbers told the story of a perfect military operation, overwhelming force applied with surgical precision to achieve maximum results with minimal friendly casualties. "And the Villani casualties?" she asked. 43 survivors recovered, including Captain Nala and most of her senior staff," Baker replied. "Our medical teams are treating their wounded with complete success. Dr. Harris reports that their physiology is remarkably similar to human baseline, so our medical equipment and procedures are fully compatible with their biology." Through the observation port, Cooper could see the massive research vessel slowly rotating as human engineering crews attached temporary power cables and atmosphere processors. The ship's beauty was a stark contrast to the debris field that had once been 3 mighty Ravager warships, now nothing more than twisted metal and expanding clouds of vaporized materials. "The Villani are requesting permission to send a delegation aboard our ship," Baker continued. "Captain Nala wants to thank you personally for what we accomplished here today." Cooper considered the request carefully. First contact with a new alien species was always a delicate diplomatic situation, especially when it occurred during a military engagement. "Grant permission immediately. Arrange for a full honor guard reception in the main briefing room." Her people showed remarkable courage when facing impossible odds. An hour later, Captain Nala entered the dreadnought's primary briefing room accompanied by her surviving senior officers. The Villani delegation moved with the graceful motions of beings who had evolved in lower gravity environments, their pale blue skin shimmering like precious metal under the ship's artificial lighting. Each alien stood nearly 7 feet tall, with elongated limbs and large, expressive eyes that seemed to take in every detail of their surroundings. Admiral Cooper offered a formal military salute that Captain Nala attempted to return despite obvious unfamiliarity with human customs and protocols. The aliens' movements showed genuine respect and gratitude despite the cultural barriers between their species. "Captain Nala, welcome aboard the Terran Vengeance," Cooper said warmly. "I trust our medical teams have been able to provide adequate care for your wounded crew members?" "Admiral Cooper, your doctors have performed what can only be described as miracles," Nala replied, her voice carrying deep gratitude that transcended the mechanical translation. "Several crew members who we believed were beyond any hope of saving have made complete recoveries. Your medical technology is far more advanced than we realized. But that is not the primary reason I requested this meeting." She gestured to her science officer, who activated a portable holographic projector that filled the center of the briefing room with detailed sensor readings from the recent battle. The three-dimensional display showed the complete destruction of the Ravager fleet in precise tactical detail, with time-coded analysis of every weapon discharge and tactical maneuver. "Admiral, I have commanded starships for over 50 standard years," Nala continued, her large eyes studying the battle data with scientific fascination. "During that time, I have studied the military capabilities and tactical doctrines of every major species in this region of the galaxy. What your fleet accomplished today should have been theoretically impossible according to everything we know about space warfare." Cooper raised an eyebrow with genuine curiosity. "Impossible in what way, Captain?" Nala manipulated the holographic controls to highlight specific aspects of the engagement. "The Ravager Brotherhood has terrorized civilian shipping and raided peaceful settlements for over 3 decades. Their vessels utilize quantum plasma technology that can penetrate any known defensive system. They have destroyed entire planetary defense fleets that outnumbered them significantly." She paused, studying the tactical display with the intensity of a scientist examining a completely new phenomenon. "Yet your fighters eliminated their heavy cruisers in minutes using what appear to be conventional kinetic projectiles and guided missiles. Your coordination was perfect, your tactics were unlike anything in our military databases, and your casualties were practically non-existent." The human admiral smiled slightly, recognizing the genuine scientific curiosity behind the alien's questions. "Captain, would you like to understand the real secret behind human military effectiveness?" Nala leaned forward eagerly, her entire delegation hanging on every word. "Please, Admiral. This knowledge could revolutionize our understanding of interstellar warfare." "The secret is not our technology, though our weapons are quite sophisticated," Cooper explained, activating the room's main tactical display. "It is not our individual courage, though humans can be very brave when the situation demands it. The fundamental difference is that we approach warfare in ways that other species simply do not consider." The display showed recordings from the battle, highlighting the complex coordination between human vessels of all sizes. Most galactic civilizations treat space combat like a formal duel between opposing fleets. They line up their largest ships and attempt to overpower their enemies through superior firepower or more advanced technology. Cooper manipulated the display to show human tactical patterns. Humans approach warfare as a survival situation that must be won as quickly and efficiently as possible. We use every advantage we can find, coordinate all our assets as a single fighting force, and focus entirely on eliminating threats to innocent lives. Captain Nala studied the tactical recordings with growing amazement, beginning to understand why the human victory had been so complete and devastating to the Ravager fleet.